you can take it away. Thanks again.
Okay, perfect. I don't have any visibility if there's an up hand or a question, but you and Sunal will just throw it at me whenever you think is best fitting. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to our session of Power Apps is Vibing 2. So for those of you who work in the low-code, no-code space would know that there was this thing with vibe coding that started especially from the GitHub Copilot side, and then all these additional AI tools started coming out, and a bunch of us were feeling like, oh dear, now what? And then all of a sudden we got this news that, oh, there's a new URL called vibe.powerapps.com. And we were like, oh, cool. So Power Apps is vibing too. So we'll go a little bit into that this evening. Just before we go into that, thank you, Niku, for this very cool picture. I will be using it a lot more. I absolutely love this caricatures that they've been creating using AI. I've definitely been using AI for the fun part of it. But just a little bit on who I am. Obviously, my name is Carike Botha. You can follow me on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I am on most of the social media platforms. I predominantly these days work and delve in the Power Apps, Power Automate space. Been touching Logic apps a lot recently as well. I have spoken internationally. That was a lot of fun. And then my day-to-day job, or the thing that makes me buy good food, which I really enjoy, is being a software development consultant at the moment at iSolve. So please connect with me on LinkedIn if you haven't already. I always love connecting with the community and people who also delve into the same tech space, even if it's a different tech space. I'm a big fan of cybersecurity. I will never go into it because I always say I hide my identity really badly. But yeah, that's just a little bit of who I am. Also, just by show of hands in the room, and maybe I'll just check the hands. How many of you know or work with the Power Platform daily, or don't know about it, have been exposed to it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, great. So I'm speaking to people who know. That is beautiful. So that means I can move over to the next slide very fast. Because I thought, let me just put it in there because I've so many times spoken in a room and then nobody knows about the Power Platform. Like, oh dear, I missed that slide. So for those of you who do know, this would look very familiar. However, we've got some new shiny icons, which is always exciting. Because they got a little bit of a redesign. Our Copilot Studio's got a new look and feel. But for those of you who don't know the Power Platform, in this room, most of you do, it just shows the list of tools that's available inside of the Power Platform, as well as the data sources that connects to it, the components that you can add to any one of those. So the top tier is obviously the 5 elements that make up the Power Platform, which is Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Pages, and then Copilot Studio, which used to be Power Virtual Agent. So now we can build agents from Copilot Studio. At the top tier, we actually have Copilot agents, and the latest one that's coming soon is Agent 365. So there's a lot of promises of what Agent 365 would be able to do for us. But we'll test it when it comes out and play with it. So if you're anything like me, I like to click buttons, and if it breaks, it goes like, oh, it doesn't work. And that's the fun part of being in the space that we are. But it's also great to work with things that do work and make our lives, as well as the people who use our apps that we build, lives so much easier. Cool. So with that said, let's have a little bit of a look back into history. And we're going to look a little bit at what Power Apps looked like back in my day. Now, I know that sounds like many, many moons ago. It's actually not that long ago, because these days things are developing so rapidly. But back in the day, when Power Apps just became a thing, this was the beauty we called Power Apps, right? We had this very weird blue, sometimes people thought it was purple color things that we have here. The apps was created with that, and obviously as Power Apps grew, we could start changing colors and all of those things. So it really has evolved quite a lot, because Obviously, we started with that. It worked the way it should. In the end, we just wanted an app that is a low code, no code. We could put something together quite fast, and it worked. So then Power Apps went modern. So we got exposed to something called modern controls. And my goodness, was that pretty. Because if we were exposed, I mean, we appreciated what we had. But then when the modern controls came out, we were like, man, that looks amazing. Especially the calendar picker, right? So low code, no code as we know it today. I mean, and as we are developing and responsive apps became responsive. We didn't have to just choose a tablet or phone layout. We could now make it so it fits any layout. So that was quite exciting as well. So Power Apps has really been through the journey of evolving as tech evolves. And with that said, we fast forward to the new kid on the block, which is vibe.powerapps.com. And you know, once you've played with vibe.powerapps.com and you see what it spits out, you're like, oh my word, this is just beautiful. You know, things that you would typically develop as a website that sits outside, was exposed to the public. This is the kind of apps that we can now develop for internal users. So this is quite an exciting journey. I'm very glad that just based on where we are in the AI space and where things are going with AI and developers constantly worrying about, is their job still safe? And especially low code, no code developers, citizen developers. It's really great to see how Microsoft is still investing in the Power Platform and making sure that that piece of tech also stays upgraded and relevant in the day and age that we are living in. So with that said, for those of you who know me, you know I don't like a lot of slides. That was just taking you back a little bit from where we started to where we are today. Yeah, let's play. Let's see what vibe.powerapps.com is all about. So I'm going to go ahead and share the landing page for vibe.powerapps.com. So you can navigate here if you're in the default environment. So just by show of hands quickly, because now again, I can see the hands. Just by show of hands, how many of you are familiar with when I speak about environments loosely? I don't need to explain it. You're happy I can go ahead. Lekker.
I've got a question,
Yes,
Carike, just on this, the vibe.powerapps, is that still in preview or is that generally available?
It's not generally available yet. So if you are playing in this space or creating anything in this space, please be cognizant of the fact that it is preview. It is recommended that you don't put any of this in production yet until it becomes GA. So it isn't generally available yet. And also it is only available to a limited amount of regions. So when you want to play with vibe.powerapps.com, you need to create an environment that's either a sandbox or a developer environment. That's one of the requirements. And it has to be, I think at the moment, it's Australia, it's US, Asia, and there was one more that escapes me at the moment. But those are the regions where this functionality is available right now. So the environment, I've created a US environment, that's a developer environment. And just before you have access to this as well, I've actually opened the page already. There is a setting in the Power Platform Admin Center that you have to ensure is switched on in order for you to get to vibe.powerapps.com, even if you have the environment set up already. So you'd need to go to Copilot, Settings, and then you have to scroll down all the way to Power Apps, and there's a setting here called Copilot in Power Apps. So once you select this one, there's a little tick there that has to be on. Okay, so once this is on, then you will be able, and obviously you've got the right environments in the right region, then you will be able to actually navigate to this URL, which is vibe.powerapps.com. Okay, so initially when you land on the page, this is what we have. For those of us who's been working in the Power Platform, this little block is very familiar. You've seen it in Power Automate. You've seen it in just normal Power Apps when they introduced Copilot, where they said you can build your app, you can build your flow using natural language. So this is pretty much the same, just it generates so many more elements now. Also for those who've been working in the Power Platform for quite some time, you would have seen a cool thing that it's been available, I think, from mid last year. It's called Plan. Not to be confused with Planner at all. It's got nothing to do with Microsoft Planner. It's just called Plan. And this is initially where Vibe for Power Apps started. It didn't have a separate URL, it was just called Plan. You could, with natural language, say, this is kind of my requirements, this is what I would like build. And in the plan, it would kind of lay out already for you the app that would be required, the data tables, the flows, and potentially agents, right? Vibe.powerapps does exactly the same thing. It just makes it look so much more prettier. And obviously, you'll see now when this gets generated, the code base also looks a little bit different. And but they've kind of rolled it out in steps like that. Something else just to know off the bat is obviously when you build a vibe.powerapps, a Vibe app, let's call it a Vibe app, or they actually refer to it as code apps. So I just quickly want to show you in Power Apps itself. When you create, I've pre-built one, we'll do a new one this evening. But when you create a Vibe app, you'll see the type is code, right? So we have now 3 types of Power Apps that you can develop, which is obviously model-driven apps, Canvas apps, but now code apps through the Vibe coding. Okay. So that's just something important to know. Default data source is Dataverse. When building in this space, there's no way for you to add additional connectors or add additional data sources. However, it does solutionize everything that it builds, so you can easily, with the application lifecycle management, you can easily export it, move it somewhere else. You can amend it using Visual Studio, but the moment that you do that, it detaches completely from this app here. So it detaches from the plan. It just becomes a app standing all by itself. So you wouldn't be able to use this further to enhance the app. But from there, you'll be able to then obviously customize it with adding connectors, adding additional data sources. So it's still very customizable. Okay. But because it's code, you can only do this through Visual Studio Code if you want to customize it without doing the Vibe part of it. Cool. But with that said, I just want to take you through a little bit. So just by show of hands, has anyone played with vibe.powerapps.com yet? JP has. Cool. So some of this information, JP, might feel a little redundant to you. But for those of you who haven't, I'll just quickly take you through just a little bit of the layout of this page, where you can find what, and then we'll kick off with our first use case. Cool. So obviously this is the home screen where you can start building your app with your own wording. On top of that, as with anything Copilot related or building agents these days, or using AI, they've got some suggested prompts that you could use. So you could easily use one of these 3 that they have there, maybe an onboarding tool, RSVP management, equipment requests. This is a great way always. I always encourage use the suggested prompts, use the suggested templates or pre-built templates, because it gives you an idea of what the tool is capable of, especially if you don't understand or maybe know what a use case would be in your environment yet. So this is the best place to start if you don't know where to start, right? I'm going to go and copy just a little bit of a requirement that I've actually asked AI to put together for me, because I was like, I need a use case. Please help me give one. And this is what they came up with based on what it knows about me and how I've been engaging with it. It knows I love community. So let's just quickly go. I'm going to copy this little blurb here and paste it in here, and then I'll just go through it quickly. So basically what I'm asking it is, I want you to create an app that manages conference speakers for me. Okay, it must track the speaker details, the session title, technical level, category, approval status, travel requirements, and payment status. Only organizers can approve the sessions and include a dashboard showing sessions per track and speaker diversity metrics. So obviously, if you're thinking of a real world scenario with let's say a citizen developer that's reaching this page, they're not necessarily going to give this amount of detail. They might start with a sentence that I need an app to onboard employees. And that's literally what their brain at that time can come up with. But Power Apps has made this very easy for us, right? So we've got this little button here that on the spot can enhance your prompt. Okay. So when I click that, you will notice that it immediately gives it a lot more detail, and it goes really granular into what it is that you're describing. So for those people who doesn't necessarily know how to describe it, they're just kind of applying whatever is in their mind of what I want. This feature for me is something that I find really valuable because it automatically enhances. And from here, I mean, they can read through it. They can decide, yes, I like that. No, I don't like it. And maybe improve it here before they hit send. So I'm just I'll maybe give it a quick read. And then I'm just going to hit the send button because there's no demo like a live demo, right? So in here, it says it's going to develop an app for conference organizers to manage speakers and sessions. So already you can see that it's got a different tone to it. The app should allow organizers to add, edit, and view speaker profiles. It's added a lot more information in there, track the approval status, travel requirements, and payment status. So there's a lot of details, finer details that it's added. So I'm just going to go hit play here. Cool. So the moment you do that, it starts doing its thing. And if you have at all played with any of the other vibe coding tools that's available, like Replit, maybe developing a little bit using GitHub Copilot or the Copilot agent, you would know this is kind of what it does. So you let it do its thing. The nice thing about this being in the Power Platform is obviously it's integrated into the Microsoft tech stack already. So you've got integration into all of your other tools. Obviously, the data source is going to be Dataverse, but if you're already working with Dataverse, this shouldn't be unfamiliar. Obviously, it's secure because, once again, it sits in the Microsoft space, and we've got the promise of our data being secure. But yeah, I don't know, Niku. Yes, go for it. I think while we wait, let me go through some questions.
Yes, we've got one question. When you build out that prompt
Yes.
to kind of set the context, can you add any reference materials like work files, a PDF of mockups, things like that, that sits within your ecosystem to enhance, to give it more, I guess, context?
I have not seen that you can do that. I know with Plan, before the vibe.powerapps.com with Plan, you could do that, right? You could give it you could attach some files to give it context. I didn't see any option to add it. I know with Copilot also, you usually just go / and it brings up that.
Yes.
I didn't see that when I was working with it. JP, I don't know if you've tried something similar and maybe you know.
Because it's interesting, I mean, just to give it more context, JP, do you know?
No, I myself don't know that if you can add reference material.
Okay, 100%. Yeah, so I would say, Nico, give it a go. Try if you can see if you can do the / if it, we will try it now once it's done with this. I could actually just open a new tab while this one is busy. Let's go vibe, powerapps.com. There's no better way to try than actually just giving it a go, right?
No, absolutely. And I'm gonna have a talk with my Power Platform engineer first thing tomorrow morning about why they haven't shown me this, because I'm definitely going to try this out. This looks very cool.
It is very cool. It's really amazing. And once it's developed, I'll go into the detail of absolutely everything that it creates, and it's mind-blowing. It is absolutely mind-blowing that it does this. So let's go try /. Yeah, so the / doesn't work. I don't think you can at this stage, but I don't think it's far off from them adding that functionality, because eventually that'll just make sense, right? I've got a list, I've got a business requirements document, so I want to add that. I think for now, if you have, paste it in here, copy what you can and paste it in here. but it would be nice to have that add feature. Let's see how far this one is. What I also like is you'll see a little bit of the update on the left-hand side of what it's busy doing. I think while that's running, we'll leave this one to do what it needs to do. I have pre-built one because I envisioned that it would take a while we are busy. So it's always best to have a backup, right? I promise that I also built this today. I didn't add any tweaks or some behind rah that this magically works. So I'll show you what it came up with. So in the backend, I've given it now the prompt. It's going to go and it's going to develop the data tables that's required. It's going to go and identify if there's any approvals that needs to happen. It's not going to go and create the flow. It will tell you that you could potentially add the flow, but this is the suggested flow. And then it will add suggested agents as well. The only thing that it does create is the actual app. Okay, but you can go and add these things. What it also does, and I'll show you what it does in the plan. Just waiting for this to load. There we go. I was just about to say, hey, it's always nice when you do a live demo and things don't work and you go like, I'm sweating. But that's just the beauty of AI these days, right? It just does the most amazing things. Cool.
I'm pretty sure it's because you're waiting for that extra memory for your laptop, and Microsoft and Amazon and all those guys have bought up all the hardware.
Yes. I'm pulling a electric box down somewhere because of all the AI generated stuff that I'm doing right now. Cool. So this is the app that I created with my previous prompt that I've used. Also just said that obviously I need an idea board. We want to be able to submit ideas to the company. I used that feature to enhance my prompt. It gave a very cool prompt. So what it went and did, it's obviously created this app, fully functional. I haven't written a single line of code. I haven't really touched it or modified it. That's from an app perspective. Then from a data perspective, this is what it went ahead and created, right? A full-on entity model with relationships, everything inside of Dataverse, right? I didn't tell it to go and create these tables. It intuitively knew this is because of the app that you are requiring. This is more or less the tables that I think you would need. So it's got the idea table, which will obviously get the details of the idea. It's got the idea status, a risk level, the employees, because it was also role-based where employees can submit ideas, but only a set of employees can approve and manage those ideas. What the role is and the department that the idea is for. Okay, so it actually went ahead and create a lot. Once this is created, you can go and modify it. So you can also see all the columns here. So very typical Dataverse behavior. For those of you who are familiar with Dataverse, you would know this is just a view of the columns. You could also view the data from here. So what it does is it also populates it with sample data, which is amazing because then you can see it in action. You can see there's some values in there, how it reacts to the data, and that populates obviously the app that we have. So it pre-populates it with data, and you can also still add a new row. What you can do here, so you can't do it initially when you do your prompt, but the moment that it's created the app and the tables and put all of that together, you can add existing Dataverse tables. So if you wanted to bring some existing data into this current app or want to reuse some of the data that's already built, you can bring it in here. One caveat of that is the existing Dataverse table cannot be modified with the chat interface that we have on the left. Landile, is it Landile?
Yes, it is Luandile. I just wanted to ask, to what level does it normalize the database?
So normalization, I'm not quite sure how that works in Dataverse. I know it is there and you can index your columns, but I'm not too sure about that. I don't know if the data guys on the call want to answer that one, if you know from a Dataverse perspective how it usually normalizes the tables.
I'm going to refer that one maybe to Sunil.
I'm actually not too sure myself, to be very honest.
Yeah, I know with
I'm not sure how
Dataverse, because
Dataverse
it's
does it.
a business entity model, most of those stuff is baked into the model. But I don't know to what extent. And obviously, we don't have as much liberty within Dataverse as we have within a SQL to give it that instructions. So, Lwandile, you've really asked a very good question. I might have to get back to you on that one, if that is okay.
That's okay. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Please remember to also post it in the comments so I can just refer back to it, because I would love to get back to you on that question. It's a great question.
Yes, it's already in the comments.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Great. Yeah, because I'd really like to get back on that one, just from a normalization perspective. To what extent does it normalize the data? Perfect. So yeah, so from a database perspective, you can see that it went and put all this together. Then let's look at the plan. So the plan is, as I've mentioned previously, plan has existed for quite some time already. What it does is it identifies the user roles inside of your app based on the prompt that you've provided. So you can see there's an employee submitter, there's a leadership reviewer, there's a department head. Then it identified the data model. So it put the tables here that it was going to create. You could easily amend. So something that I haven't played with it myself because it's still so new and you have to understand how people can modify data, but you can at any time come and change this plan or add to the plan, right, while it's busy creating this. And then from a technology perspective, it's obviously got or drafted the app, but these are the suggested additional things to enhance your app even further. It's the idea status notifier. So it's got a little plus here, so it can go and create the workflow for you, but you need to initiate that step, right, by clicking the plus. The same with the assistants. So it suggested 3 agents that it would create based off the prompt that I've given it. So it suggests an employee ID assistant, a leadership review co-pilot, as well as a department insight agent. I haven't clicked plus on any of these, so I don't know how it will play out, what it would look like when we create those agents, what's missing, what's not. I know last year when I was playing with plans, I didn't touch agents, but I did play with the workflows. What it does well is it gives you the foundation of the flow. Like it puts all the steps and actions in there inside of the flow. What it doesn't do is populate it with the data. So you've got this list of actions, but now you still need to say, I'm pointing to this table. It should be for this email address. It doesn't obviously populate it with those kind of things. So you need to populate it. It just gives you the layout of the actions. Okay, so let's jump back to our conference manager. That's what I decided to call it, which is quite exciting. Let's see how far it is with our app. Okay, it seems like it's still thinking. My ESCOM not come at us. We've been having no blackouts for a long time. So hoping that it stays that way. Just want to see here. I'm also hoping the fact that I navigated away didn't do any bad juju. Looks like it is busy with something. Okay. So while we are still waiting for that one, I'm really now very glad that I pre-built an app before this session. So obviously these are the things that it puts together, right? So let's have a look at the app a little bit from a perspective of now I can see the app. It looks like a nice shiny app. We'll navigate a little bit in it. And let's see how we can modify, right? Because now we've built this app, we've played with it a little. I've actually, when I just created this one, what happened was the status distribution and the ideas by department, it didn't have these colors. Everything was just blank. So it was great that it had the statuses here, but all of the identifiers were in a black color. And I was like, okay, so what do I do with this data? It obviously doesn't show me a differentiation at this stage. So I asked the vibe code agent, I was like, hey, I think something's wrong with the status distribution and the ideas by department. And it went and fixed it, applied the colors. It picked up that there was the wrong CSS parameter was pointing to these elements, and it went ahead and fixed it. So let's say we wanted to add a new section to this app, right? I don't even know what would be something fun to add here. Let's say we want to add an element. I actually have got a pre-prompt for this, so let me use that. Let me not reinvent my own wheel here. Okay. I just want to get that prompt quickly. I'm not finding it. Let's say we want to add an element of fun to this app and gamify the generation of ideas. Okay, so let's see what it does with that. Cool. So what's nice about this is that you can obviously add elements, you can update the colors, the fonts, everything by using obviously the natural language. While this is working on the request, I wonder, okay, I can see it's not available now, probably because it's working on something. When it's not working on the app, you've got this little toggle inline edits. So what this does is if you've ever been on a website and you've pressed F12 to investigate the elements on the page, this does exactly the same. So when you switch on this toggle, you can actually hover over the elements on the screen and you can change things like the color, you can change the wording. Obviously, from a code perspective, there's not much to change, but you can have it in split view as well. So you can either view the code or you can view a split view of the app and the code. You'll notice now at on the left-hand side, it's busy going through the logic of this is what I want done, and it is busy working through this request. Okay, so we'll see what it comes up with. I'm actually not going to navigate away this time because I don't want to break anything. But it's amazing to see the potential with just a few lines of sentences. It's not even code. It really enables so much from a development perspective. So while this is busy going, let me jump back to my presentation quickly. It was this one. And what Microsoft has done is they've already listed a few known limitations, which I think is important to take note of, right? So some known limitations that we know of already is that obviously apps created in the new authoring experience can only be edited within that experience. So you can't edit the app outside of this experience. You can only edit it within this experience. Any apps that's previously created or any plans that was previously created also that sits outside of this experience, you wouldn't be able to bring it into this vibe coding experience and then amend it that way. So it'll have to be a from scratch project, and then you continue with this project in this manner. Obviously, if you export and edit the app externally, as I've mentioned before, using Visual Studio Code, and you redeploy it versus the Power Apps CLI, it creates a new app. So it doesn't connect or stay connected to this vibe coding experience. It disconnects, creates a new app. And then once again, from there, you can modify it. It's completely yours to play with. Only one app per plan is supported. So in other words, you can create many of these instances, but just one plan, one app. So the plan that I showed you with the user roles, the data model, and the technology, you can only do that for one application. You can't have more than one app for a plan. And as I've mentioned, existing plans can't be open in the new authoring experience. Canvas and model-driven apps are not supported in this experience. As I've mentioned, it's become its own Power Apps type, which is called Code App. It's a code app. Existing tables aren't automatically suggested when doing your prompts, but you can add it, as I've shown you. It also can't be edited via the chat, as I've mentioned already. Direct code edits in the code view or split view aren't supported. So you can do some inline edits. And I think that was from a developer perspective, I think that's one of the caveats. So for someone who's used to doing the natural language, you can develop, but we all know vibe coding, as awesome as it is, has its limitations, and it reaches a point where you go. And I think that was one of the questions that we had, Niku, on the comments when we posted about this event is, when do you stop vibing and actually start structuring your data? That was such a good question, because exactly that, right? We can give everyone the link and they can go vibe code to their heart's content. But when does it start to follow the structure that we have within an industry or an enterprise, especially large enterprises? They want everything to be consistent and follow certain standards. And I think that's really where, as exciting as vibe coding is, that's where I can really encourage everyone that's a developer and still a low-code developer at this stage, even pro-code developers, where I can ensure you that you still definitely have your job, because we will then need that customization in there that ensures that our app follows that standards and procedures. It does mean that we will need to export it, customize it in Visual Studio Code, and obviously remove it then from this experience and move it into the solution tenant that we want, wherever we want to have that customized version of it or standardized. So that's just things that we need to consider as we move into this new space, playing with these new tools. I know that this will obviously, this tool is still in preview. They're waiting for feedback. There's so many features that they could still add. So another one here that I didn't see in the, it's not a limitation per se, but if I jump back to our app, it's not a limitation per se. It's a thing of, I couldn't choose the solution that I wanted this app hosted in or stored in. So what it does is, it just, when it builds this and you save this and you publish it, it publishes it to that default solution, right? So, Francois, is that a question, whether it's written in React.js?
Yeah, looks like a question there.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. So I can't confirm or deny that it is React.js. What I have heard is that it's actually TypeScript. So I don't have a lot of experience with TypeScript. I'm a C# coder by heart, so I don't work with TypeScript a lot. So if I quickly go into split mode, obviously there's some JSON files that's for your app. So just to show, so it's TypeScript. So you can see the abbreviation here is TSX. So it's written in TypeScript. I know React, yes. Yes. So I don't know, I know from what I've heard as React, I'm guessing you're excited about that. Cool. So, but yeah, this is TypeScript, and it's, yeah, it shows here that it's React. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not too familiar in this space. This will be a learning curve for me. I've lived in the Power Platform space, so Power FX for me all the way. So this is something new, and this is exciting because that gets you now, once you've brought this back into Visual Studio, then you've got the likes of GitHub Copilot to help you even further. So for me, for instance, who's not familiar with TypeScript, that's where GitHub Copilot would then be a great help to perhaps enhance the app or get to those nigglies that I feel this assistant here didn't help me with. Cool. So just quickly to show you, if I just go back to the app view, what it's done now is you'll see this new shiny section that it's added with icons. It's actually created a leaderboard, right, for us. And let's go to this. So how to earn points. So what it's done is created a leaderboard. It didn't create the gamification part of it. It created the leaderboard. So it's still up to me to go and add that gamification. And that would be some more prompting on how to, what I would want it to do, what I want the game to look like. So this is all very exciting. I mean, it looks pretty. This would take me months to get a Power app, the way that we build Canvas apps, to look like this, right? But this took a few seconds, a few minutes. And it's really amazing. I don't know if there's any other questions. I just want to quickly go back to the other app to see if it's created. I think I broke it when I navigated away. Darn it. Let's try the refresh button. As developers, we always press buttons. Let's try refresh even. I think that's going to completely break it. Are there any other questions? Maybe listed in the chat. Go for it, Chanel.
Let's see if there's anything in the chat. No, I don't think so. No, I don't really have a question. I was going to say this is like super cool. I haven't played with this yet, so I'm definitely going to give it a go and test some ideas and stuff. But this is really cool. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. I think it's awesome.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Even me, I mean, this is very new. I know some of the other MVPs was like, why did you not tell us about this? I was like, no, I know about it. I just haven't had the time to really play and deep dive into the nigglies and try and figure out what works, what doesn't work. But it's fun. The moment you start playing with it, you click on things, it doesn't work, you ask it to fix it, it fixes it. It's really, really a lot of fun. JP? You're on mute.
Still on mute. Let me just see here.
Sorry, guys.
No, sorry.
I just wanted to confirm, can you export this app and import it into a Dataverse solution as we normally do, and then edit it from there?
I don't know if you'll be able to edit it from there. You can export the app and the solution, and from what I've seen is you can move it from one solution to another solution. I don't know if you'll be able to edit it in anywhere where the plan doesn't sit. So maybe when you export the solution, you try and export the plan with it. I haven't done it myself. For me, I don't know if it will keep that inheritance, and then you can continue prompting it inside of that new solution.
Okay, so basically you have to keep on fighting with the AI to get it to do what you want it to do.
Yeah.
It's actually a bit disappointing. I know that it's not your fault, but I wish Microsoft would have gone in the same direction, and it could have connected with our skill that we already developed. And another question that I have is, okay, that being said, I saw that it's creating its own tables. It maybe connects to existing tables, but when it's creating those tables, it prefixes it with the publisher, and it's like the default publisher. Is there a way to get around that? Can you make
Not at this stage. One of the Microsoft employees that was actually also running a demo of this said she would have loved if you could choose, once again, you choose your solution, because with that, you would have automatically chosen your publisher as well. And we know publishers from a table creation element. That makes so much sense. But at this stage, no. I do believe it is coming. I can't tell you when, but those are things that are absolutely critical for us who wants to use it and actually productionalize what we've built using the vibe coding way of developing, because then it makes sense. That's the way we would differentiate our tables from whatever the default publisher is. So, unfortunately, at this stage, no, but I'm hoping that it comes soon, because that just makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of a headache, and something that's not preferable, and what I sort of fear going forward. Because when I started out, like in my first year for 6 months, I was looking at other people's code who was sold this thing of build an app in a day with Power Apps. Just do what you want. It's very easy. And then eventually they hire someone like me to come in and fix the mess that they've created. And
100%.
After 6 months, I was like, I didn't know if you should go data first with Power Apps. I didn't know the platform and so on. But after some time, I said, well, I'm going to try data first now. First, do my data modeling.
Yes.
And then do the front end. And this seems very much the other way around. It's like first do the front end and then worry about the data.
Yeah.
At least it's better than what the people did back then. It creates a nice data model at the back end.
Yeah.
But
I think what I
because you
like
have,
about it, I still agree with you. It seems to be app first, data second. I also do the data first because everything my app will be surrounds my data, right?
right,
But what I do like what's happening here is the fact that it immediately adds multiple tables. So with the normal way of creating a Power App, if you even start with data, there's no way to add all the tables that you want and go create my app. You can only choose one table, which is most annoying. Here you already have that element of all the tables.
So the other thing is, like, if you say have a few junior developers working under you and you give them this tool and say, start creating, what control do you actually have over the data and the data model at the end of the day?
So you still got a lot of control, right? So if I quickly go back to the data, obviously when you just create it, when you start your prompt, it builds the things, it suggests this table model. Nothing is actually created in your environment up until the point where you click publish. Okay. If they have clicked on publish, you still have the ability to either through the plan or through tables, the usual way that we find tables, you can still modify it, right? Even in here, you've got access to, you can decide the road ownership. You can update the properties of a table. So typically how you would create a table, you can update the properties. You still got your advanced options. It's not an extensive list as we have in Dataverse, but that you could do through the table mechanism within Dataverse. And then you could still, if we go view data, in here, you can still add a new row, add a new column. I'm sure you would also be able to remove a row. You can delete a column from here. So let's say they went and developed, you have a look at the data model and you go, it's not quite exactly what I was looking for. So I would rather make a tweak here, maybe change a relationship there. You've got the control to do that.
Cool.
I think one of the things that I thought of, which I also haven't explored yet, but would like to see is obviously they create this data model, but generally when you create apps, and because we've got the publisher, you would also create a security role that's assigned to those tables, because you don't want everyone necessarily in the organization to have access to the tables that you've created. It might be just for a certain division. Let's say the HR division. You'd go and create a security role, assign those tables to that security role. It'll probably work the same way. It's just that it doesn't have that publisher, so it'd be hard to identify them once again. But you would still probably be able to create that security role because it does do the row inheritance. Yeah, so I'm guessing it should work the same with the role security. I'm hoping.
Yeah, it looks great. When I tested it, it was literally the second day after it came out, and it was still very clunky, and I didn't like it a lot. So. But it looks great, and as we know, Microsoft always keeps on building on top of what they already done. I think it's just going to take another year or so before it's where we want it.
Yeah, no, 100%. But I think what's nice is having sessions like these, because oftentimes we explore with stuff in a silo and in a very individual environment where we play with something, we don't like it, and it just stays with us. Whereas if we have sessions like these and we go, I played with it, but these were my pain points. These were the things that I was missing. Then fortunately, me as an MVP, I've got that liberty to go back to the engineering team and say, hey, vibe coding is great, but it is missing A, B, C, D, and we really think this is priority from a productionalization perspective. And that's why I think these are so super, super invaluable. And I really appreciate your questions as well.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Sure. Any other questions?
Looks like that is it.
Fabulous. Then I am going to go back to my spreadsheet quickly.